From the Crush Studio in sunny Florida, this is the Disney Crush Podcast. And now your two tempests in a teacup, Dave and Toni-Ann.
On this week's The Disney Crush Podcast, our friend Jen went to Japan and experienced Tokyo Disneyland. We will talk to her all about it on this week's episode of the Disney Crush Podcast.
You know, Singapore's like number 3 for downloads for us. Do you know that?
Oh, really? Well,
unless it's the bot. It could be the bots.
Yeah, it's probably VPNs. VPNs listening to us.
I'm looking forward to this show.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Put it on the bucket list, along with a lot of other things. We're not going to go over news tonight because I think we have a lot to cover with our guest Jen. I do have a misconnection, but I feel weird about playing our regular music. This music seems a little inappropriate. I can't even hear it. Can you hear it?
I can hear it, yeah.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I think this music's a little inappropriate for this. I don't know. Maybe this is a little better. I saw a mom post trying to find another mom. So I'm going to try the same thing. If you are at Bay Lake Tower sometime between June 10th and June 16th and have a daughter named Zoe, age 5, and you're from Kenosha, Wisconsin, I'm sorry, my 5-year-old son told her that she would be his wife next year. It's the first time that something like this has ever come out of his mouth. I asked him later why he said that, and he said, because she was nice. It was grandma who had her at the pool, but it would be nice to connect because my son has been asking about her and thinks that he will see her the next time we go to Disney. If this is you, please reach out. I think it would be great for them to be pen pals or something. So I guess they're starting them young.
Yeah, I guess so. I couldn't even do my intro on that one. Oh, yeah.
Because it seems a little inappropriate, your misconnection intro. And
yeah, so that's why I didn't do it. That's why I didn't do it.
Romantical music. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you know, everybody needs a pen pal.
Yeah. So I want to tell you about a website. If people don't know, it's called thrilldata.com. And it helps you to see, they keep track of when the Genie Pluses run out for the day. So it kind of tells you which rides to prioritize when choosing what your Genie Plus choices are going to be. It shows you like today, Slinky Dog sold out at 10:30, which actually was pretty late for Slinky Dog, I would think. Slinky Dog usually sells out at like 7 something. But interestingly enough, Rock and Roller Coaster is after Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones stunt show was the second thing to sell out today.
Wow.
So I don't know why, but it was. And Tower of Terror, which had been second all this time while Rock and Roller Coaster was down, is now, it's almost 8 o'clock at night. It's still available. So, but thrilldata.com, and I would keep your eyes on it for when this multipass starts, because it'll probably tell you when to prioritize those choices as well. Dave, I see our guest, Jen, is here. Jen Wynn has joined us. She recently went to Japan and she explored other parts of Japan, but she also went to Tokyo Disney. Jen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Hey, well, in Tokyo, one must go to Disney.
Yes, that's what I said too. My parents were so nice and they invited my husband and I about a year or so ago. They buy a lot of art and stuff on cruises, and they often get their cruises comped because they buy a lot of art. And so they were invited on a cruise, and they had done something financially for my brother recently, and they kind of like to try to keep it even as much. Keep it even. So they invited us on this trip. So that was our gift, and we of course took them up on it. And in true, like, if you give a mouse a cookie fashion, I was like, well, can I go to Disney, please? So we tacked on Disney at the end of the trip. And I was so glad that we ended at Disney because it was amazing. It was a wonderful experience. And I cried my last day. I did not want to leave.
Oh.
Yeah.
So she answered the first question already, Dave. She's good.
I'd have been looking for property or somewhere to. I've been looking for property or somewhere to stay or.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted. They had to drag me out of my hotel room. I feel like I was very, very sad to leave.
I understand that the exchange rate's very favorable for Americans right now there. So
it's very good right now. Yes.
So it's a kind of economical. We're wasting money not going, Dave.
I know. That's your Disney math for you. I mean, especially, if you don't have, like, if you don't have annual pass and DVC and all that stuff is like prepaid and you have to fork up the dollars to go, you might as well book a ticket to Tokyo.
Absolutely.
Isn't a park pass pretty cheap there? I had heard.
Yes. I think a 1-day park pass was like maybe $60. Okay. It might not have even been that much. And my mother has a disability, so they don't have like DAS quite the same way that we have here, but they do give you a discount on your ticket, assuming that if you come with like a certificate or a doctor's note saying that you have a disability, and you do get a little bit of a discount.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do they have anything like Fast Pass there or Premium Pass or?
They do. They have a couple of different passes, and she did need it because it was very hot there, and she doesn't do well in the heat. But they do have some passes. They have Premier. They call it Premier Access, and their Premier Access is essentially the same thing as what we would call like our Lightning Lane, our paid Lightning Lane. So they have a Premier Access. They had something going on for their 40th anniversary that was kind of like old school Fast Pass, and that was free. Cool. You could book a ride like every 2 hours or so on that. And so we got a lot of use from that. And they also had something called a standby pass, and they pretty much, that would be like equivalent to our virtual queue. And so that was only for when I was there, that was used for the new land. Like there was a new land that just opened June 6th. And that land included like an area of Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan.
Wow.
So to get access to that land, you either had to buy essentially a Lightning Lane, or you had to be able to have a standby access. Those were the only ways that you could even have access to that land. And then, like I said, the little Fast Pass thing was like just a little extra thing. And I made good use of all of those things before I left. And it was very easy. It was in the app. So not that much different than what we have here. And once I kind of got in and was playing around with it, it wasn't too hard to book things. There was one day that the system was down, so there was that. But generally, it wasn't hard to book things. The big difference between there and here is that you can only book things once you physically enter into the park. So there's like no pre-booking or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I think that, that would make it easier there. And since the exchange is so good, it's almost like a no-brainer with the price going in. You might as well.
Yes. I definitely bought some Premier Access when I was there because I really wanted to get into the new land and to ride the Frozen rides. So I bought several Premier Accesses and merch. I bought a lot of merch.
Well, you have to while you're there.
Yes.
When you might not be back for a long time, so.
Exactly. And yours are cheap. Yours are like maybe $15. I think they're between like 12 and 15. Yeah. Whereas here they're like 30. So yeah.
So you came back with more than you went there with.
I did. I actually had planned, I came to Japan with just like my backpack and a carry-on. And then I had planned to buy a new suitcase when I was there to take home all of my stuff.
Boy, she's planning ahead.
I did need it.
Yes. I like that, planning ahead. She knew going in what she was going to do.
I did. I knew that I was going to go crazy with merch. So I had to make the best of it while I was there.
How much of that suitcase had snacks in it, Jen?
So many snacks. Oh my gosh. I came home with so many Kit Kat, like different kind of flavored Kit Kats and Pocky and chips and just so many snacks I came home with. And like, I finally have made it through a lot of my snacks already, and I thankfully found somewhere on the internet where I could buy my favorite things,
Oh, good.
like all of the different Kit Kats. And I bought this one chocolate bar that had like, it was dark chocolate, and then it had like a dark chocolate cookie like underneath it, and I'm like in love with that chocolate. So thankfully found a place on the internet to buy it, because they know how to do their snacks in Japan.
Yeah.
So is the chocolate different there than it is here?
It's like, I like dark chocolate typically, and it's really good quality dark chocolate. Like, it's nice and bitter. It doesn't like have it doesn't taste like chemically or anything. It's
or waxy.
quite good. Yeah, not waxy.
Not Palmer chocolate.
No. And they have, oh my gosh, their Kit Kats are so good. Like, we have matcha ones that are amazing. And I had these dark chocolate ones that I'm in love with. They have lots of really interesting flavors of Kit Kats. We got a lot of those.
Well, we get that a lot because we have a family that lives in Germany. When they come to visit, they bring chocolate, and it's just different. It's totally different.
Yeah.
So, like, you want some of our chocolate? And they're like, no, thanks.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip 2. We'll come back to it, because since we're talking about food, what was the best thing you ate at Disney, at Tokyo?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, I kind of failed in the food section at Disney. Yeah. A couple of reasons why. Like, it was so hot. Like, think about your hottest day that you've ever been at Walt Disney World. And like, then think about that at like Rope Drop. Like, that's how hot it was there.
Okay.
It was
you want to just talk about Japan in general? What was the best thing you tasted in Japan?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I will say at Disney, they had, they're really into popcorn there, and I love popcorn. So I was very pleased with all of their popcorn there, and their churros were amazing. And they had this like very large ice bar, and I got the raspberry peach flavored one, and that like saved my life.
Wow.
But otherwise I kind of did a lot of like quick servicey things. And I wish on my next trip, I'm going to hit food a lot harder. I think they do a lot better research, and I'm going to go when it's not July.
Yeah.
So I really want to spend more time there. There was one lounge we went to that was really cool, because they don't have a lot of like lounges there like they have at our parks, but they had this one lounge that was modeled after Theodore Roosevelt, which was really weird and really interesting. And we didn't eat anything there. We just got some bourbon drinks and had a nice little break. But so I don't have a lot to say about the food at Disney, unfortunately, but I do have a lot to say about just Japanese food in general.
Okay.
I love Japanese food. And as someone Japanese food's my very favorite. And as someone who also loves seafood, I really had a lot of delicious things in Japan.
Great.
Wrote a list of some of my favorite. We had the pleasure of being able to go to this really traditional Japanese ryokan when we were in Kyoto. And what was included in that is like a very several course dinner and breakfast.
Wow.
And one of the courses at that dinner, we had like a Wagyu beef hot pot, essentially. And the hot pot was made with these like really fresh stewed tomatoes that I like still dream about. And so it was essentially like this tomatoey soup with this Wagyu beef that they would dip in and like cook the beef in the stew. And I was obsessed with that. So I still dream about that. One of the things we did was, because we were on a cruise for a portion of it, we got to stop off in Jeju Island in South Korea. And they have a specialty there called black pork. And I'm not 100% sure what makes it black. I was told that I didn't want to know, and so I'm going to go ahead and not know. But we went to this restaurant.
If you want to know.
I'm going to go ahead and be okay with not knowing why it's black, but delicious. We got it. We went to this like Korean barbecue restaurant where they like cooked it in front of you and got all of this like kimchi and delicious stuff that was just amazing. And I'm also really into tuna. I could eat tuna like every single day. And I had the best tuna of my life at this port called Shimizu. So it was just very fatty and flavorful, and all of the sushi there was just amazing. I didn't have any complaints. I was very excited about all of that. I got these giant things called rock oysters. And they were giant oysters. And I loved those. Yeah. And they would have to you can't see it here on the podcast, obviously, but I would say it was about the size of my hand, not even just my palm, like the whole oyster was the size of my hand. And I'm a big oyster person. My husband was not exactly thrilled with that, but I loved that.
So how do you tackle that? Because normally an oyster, you kind of slurp. So
yeah,
you have to cut it with a fork and knife?
Cut it up for you. Yeah, they brought it already kind of cut up, and I just used my chopsticks. It didn't have any slimy stuff that it usually comes with it, but it was quite good. And my husband and I, we did a lot of kind of wandering around and just going into random places and just ordering whatever and doing our best. And thankfully, some places would have QR codes or tablets that you can order from that would make it a little bit easier. But we did end up eating a lot of mystery meat, but it was all interesting and fun and good. So there wasn't anything I had that I didn't love or that I didn't like. I mean, everything was either fine or amazing. There wasn't, for me, anything that I disliked. My husband, we joke a lot now. We were fortunate enough we got to have dinner with some geisha. Which was an amazing experience. And my husband jokes that he thinks that they were bringing us stuff just to see if we would eat it. I don't think that's what they were doing, but he thinks perhaps. But our very first course, we had jellyfish, and the jellyfish came in kind of like a jelly weird soup thing with seaweed at the bottom. And I didn't mind it that much just because it reminded me of oysters and I'm into oysters, but I wasn't a fan of the seaweed. It kind of got stuck in my throat a little bit. So wasn't a big fan of that so much. He did not like that at all. And we'll consistently talk about that. And then we also at that same dinner had some turtle soup. And I'd never had turtle before. So that was really, really interesting. And he liked it and I liked that too. Yeah. But I guess one other interesting thing that I had was we stopped off at this brewery in one of these places in Japan and they had pizza there. And so we ordered some pizzas, and the pizza I ordered was a seafood pizza that had oysters and sardines and stuff on it. But I enjoyed quite a lot. And my family made fun of me for it like crazy because they thought it was ridiculous and looked gross. But that just means I got to eat it all.
Just be you, Jen. Let your freak flag fly.
I do indeed do that. Yes.
So I'm going to go back to the second question then. Is there any etiquette or expectations people should be aware of when they travel to Japan or
Yeah. I saw a lot of things on the internet before I left and did a lot of research. And a lot of the things I saw on the internet is a little bit overblown. I think, just don't be rude and just be mindful is, I would say, the biggest thing. Definitely don't talk on your phone, on public transit. That was a thing I definitely saw that was really important. And just don't be loud on public transport. So, being really mindful of your volume. But other than that, a lot of the stuff that people said, not drinking and walking or eating and walking, that wasn't that big a deal. Yeah. And I think especially if you obviously look like a tourist, people aren't going to be, it wasn't as big a deal as people made it out to be. There definitely aren't a lot of trash cans around. So you just have to make sure that you bring stuff to carry your trash because it is a very clean city and littering is a big deal there. They would be very frowned upon that. And standing in line they do take that pretty seriously. So essentially just don't be a jerk. The language barrier is definitely there. It's not a problem. You could manage with translation apps, and people are super nice and they do try to help you. And sometimes they want to even practice their English. So as long as you're nice, you'll have nice interactions with folks. But I wish that I knew a little bit more Japanese than I did. I learned some pleasantries. You just lose a lot with the language barrier, but it's not a problem. But I think that if you do go knowing a little bit of Japanese, they really appreciate it. Like you can tell,
Right.
like when they would say something to me in English and I would say like good morning back to them in Japanese, their whole face would like brighten up. And
Oh,
so I think go like, you don't have to be fluent by any stretch of the imagination,
right.
but I think if you go knowing a little bit, they do really appreciate that, I think.
Just be nice. I like that. Be nice. When Veronica found out you were coming on, she said, and this is kind of goes along with this question is, she said, I need to find out from Jen how they are in the park with the parades and stuff and the shows.
Yes.
Because here, people can be a little, I don't want to say rude, but I'm going to say it. They can be a little rude sometimes here.
Mhm.
So how is it there?
Yes. So they definitely, people come in and they will bring their little mats and they'll bring their little stuffy friends and they will sit for a long time and kind of camp out for a long time. And it's expected that like you have your little place and you don't like push people and you don't like come in and get in front of people. Like you just don't do that.
Right.
I heard before that people would sit for the whole parades. I actually did not see that. People did end up standing up, but it was still like very orderly. It was not, people aren't coming in and pushing people and getting into fights. Like the Japanese are kind of more of an introverted culture, I think,
Right.
anyway. And so, yeah, like it kind of goes along with the queuing culture. It's like, just stand in line like you're supposed to. Don't push anybody. Like, don't be a jerk. They do take that very seriously. Yeah. Something else that I thought was interesting, maybe this isn't etiquette, but just as interesting about Japanese people in general that I noticed is they particularly ladies, dress very nicely. And it's like at Disney, like it's always Dapper Day in Japan. Like everyone is dressed like impeccably. And I sometimes don't know how they did it because they'd be wearing like full on dresses and heels and like sweaters. And I'm telling you, it was so hot and they didn't even look like they were sweating at all. So that was just something that was interesting. They do dress kind of very nice there.
Nice.
And I think like you can, I think it was a little overblown too. Before I got there, people were like, oh, you shouldn't wear shorts and you should dress very conservatively. And I think that was a little overblown. I think that if you're going to like shrines, you should wear something that's respectful, but like, you're not going to be mistaken for a Japanese local. So like, if you're wearing shorts, you're going to be fine. Just be nice. Right.
And be nice.
Be nice.
And be nice. Just be nice. That's just like the going advice.
Let's talk about the attractions. Yes. The best attraction, and are they something that they have there that we don't have here?
Yes. There was a good amount of overlap with some of the rides. Like I think their Toy Story Mania is the same. And they have a couple others that I can think of that are pretty similar or the same. They have a Baymax ride that is very similar to Alien Swirling Saucers, but it's kind of Baymax themed. But what's cool about that is that people, like not cast members, like will come and like just do the dances like all day. And so it's like really fun for people watching, just like watching them do dances all day. That was really fun. But at Disneyland, one of the best rides that they had there that they don't have over here was their Beauty and the Beast ride. Oh. That ride was absolutely amazing. The animatronics were amazing. It had the technology. Like a while ago, they were talking about bringing to Epcot like a Mary Poppins themed, like spinning teacup type situation type ride, trackless. And that was what that was. It was trackless. You were sitting in teacups and it would take you through a different kind of scenes in Beast's Castle. And you would kind of move around the scene in this teacup. And it was really cool. I really would love it if they brought it over. I don't really want to give like spoilers, but there was a really, really cool effect that I am still trying to figure out how they did it. Like it really did seem magical. Wow. Yeah. And everything's in Japanese, but like the music is still the same. So like it doesn't take your enjoyment out of it at all. Like the very first time I cried when I rode that ride and had I bought a fast pass for it, and we were able to go on at the end of the night. So I went on again, like right afterwards, and I stood in line because that's how much I loved it. And the queue was so immersive and amazing. I loved that ride, and I really wish they would bring it to Walt Disney World. So that was probably one of my favorites. The Winnie the Pooh ride that's there at Disneyland is really good. It's better than ours. And I think it's because ours, like they tried to, I think, kind of shoehorn it into Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and you can kind of like tell, but there it's like its own thing. And they added a lot more things, and they have a little bit of, it reminds me a little bit more about like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, actually, is kind of the style of that ride. And their Winnie the Pooh ride was really, really quite good. A couple of the other rides that they have there that they don't have here, one of the new rides was a Tangled themed ride, and that I loved that. The animatronics especially were amazing. I mean, that's a brand new ride, but so of course the animatronics are going to be on point. That was one of my favorites. It's like a slow moving boat ride. It was a little short, but it was just wonderful. Their version of Tower of Terror is really interesting. Its theming is kind of like man steals from tribe and gets what's coming to him, essentially. He steals some kind of idol. He's some like rich dude, and he disappears because after he steals an idol from this tribe on his like travels. And the idol is of course cursed. Yeah. And it's just a really interesting kind of theming. Their drops, it felt a little bit more intense than ours.
I had heard when they decided they were going to bring Tower of Terror to Japan, they don't have Twilight Zone, so there was nothing for them to relate to with that. So that's why they created their own storyline. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really, I enjoyed it a lot. And in the queue, actually, like it was all in Japanese, but in the queue, there would be like newspaper clippings and stuff up in English that would tell you essentially the story of what was happening. So even if you didn't know Japanese, you could, if you read the flavor in the queue, you would understand the story. But even if you didn't, like it's easy enough to follow along.
Now I have heard that Tokyo Disney Sea is the most beautiful Disney park in the world. What do you think?
Oh yes. Yes. I loved that park. It was so detailed and immersive and beautiful, and I will dream about that park every day. Yeah. For people who like love detail and love Disney, like you will love it. It is so thoughtfully themed, and they just don't skimp on details. There's like lots of really cool Easter eggs, and there was a lot of times that I would kind of just sit and just like people watch and like look at like the water and all, like even just like on buildings and things. Really incredibly immersive and beautiful. It is true what they say about it.
Wow. Oh, Dave.
Do you know a good travel agent by any chance?
I know a couple. Yes.
Wow.
It's maybe worth maybe pricing out, Dave. Maybe it won't be as bad as you think. We have a favorable exchange rate right now.
I'll end up wanting to move there like Jen. See, I'd be like, what's up with Disney in the United States?
Yes. Yeah. And I did see that was a question that you'd asked. Is there anything that's like better at the home parks?
Do we do anything better? Do we do anything better?
Come on, Jen. Come on.
There's no Epcot or Animal Kingdom there. Okay. So there's that.
So no kangaroos.
Right. Not that I saw. No kangaroos. One thing that I did miss, though, is one of the things I really enjoyed doing at Walt Disney World is like chatting with cast members, and you can't really do that there. Like they will engage with you like a little bit, but hardly anyone speaks English, which I was actually a little surprised about. Like I recognize, in Japan that people might not speak English, and that I had been prepared for that. Right. But I think I was thinking at Disney that maybe there would be more people speaking English, particularly cast members, and they do not. So I did kind of miss that. Like, and when you would, like, I one of the words that I learned was cute, kawaii. And so
Right.
like I would buy this kawaii little thing. And so I would say to the cast member, like, kawaii, and like they would engage, but they wouldn't speak English. So you'd have to use like a lot of context cues, and it was
Yeah.
still like kind of fun, but it wasn't the same. So I did miss being able
Cast
to just
member
like
in
chat
it.
with cast members. Yeah. So
Well, Jen, they probably thought you knew some more, and then they engaged you and like, oh no, okay,
they did.
now
They
Jen,
did.
no, she knows nothing.
I know nothing. Like I know very little. I think I went knowing with like the pleasantries, and I went knowing I don't understand, and I went knowing, do you understand English? Those were like,
Yes,
the things that I
yeah.
went knowing. So, and kawaii, cute.
Cute. Wow,
Well, that's got to be how people feel when they come here, because not all of us over here know other languages. We're not bilingual a lot of times. So
Yes, yes. That's what I've been saying to some of my friends. Like that was one of the things that I have never had I haven't done a lot of international travel. And so I haven't had any experience ever where I was at a place where people weren't speaking English or didn't know
Right.
English. So it was a very interesting experience for me. And I felt not that I need like a lot of help, like feeling empathy for people, but like I really, to be in that position where people around you don't know your language. And so it can feel like a little isolating in a way. And I really had a lot of empathy for people that come here and don't know English. I really did. Yeah.
Especially when you think about Walt Disney World and what it takes to navigate our parks and the transportation and the G Plus and all that stuff. If you don't speak the language, I can't even imagine the disadvantage that you're at.
Yes. And at least there, like people would carry like translation apps and things like that. So even like, as Kent and I had an experience where we went to a sushi restaurant where the people didn't speak any English. And we were just doing the best that we could, but they would come over and like speak into their translation apps. And we had like a really nice interaction with them, just like through the app. And like, we did what we could. But they don't really do that here.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we all have smartphones, but people aren't going to think to like pull out translation apps to talk to people, here so much. So
I've noticed it lately.
Have you?
More so than in the past.
Oh, good.
I think I had a UPS driver that came, and there was a barrier there, and we just pulled our phones out, man, and did what we had to do, talk to each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
you kind of touched on it with the food, but any other highlights to your trip? Any other interesting places you went to? I know you were doing a lot of research before your trip. Any other cool things you want to tell us about that you saw?
Yeah, I will tell you about one of the days. We spent a few days before the cruise in Tokyo, kind of just to acclimate to the time. And we did an overnight trip to this place called Hakone, which is like a spa onsen town. And onsen is like the mineral hot springs that come from like the volcano. And we stayed, that was my favorite place in the world. Like peak relaxation. That when I think about like needing to go to like my happy, peaceful, calm place, I'm going to think about Hakone. That's been my favorite place on the planet. We had these amazing hotel rooms, and each hotel room had like a private onsen in it, which is really important for me because I have tattoos. And so typically at onsen, you're not allowed to go in because typically you go in naked. So you're not allowed to go in with tattoos typically. But since we had a private one, it wasn't a big deal. And just waking up in the morning, and ours was inside, but they had like these giant windows that you could open. And waking up in the morning and hearing the birds chirping and like being in your onsen and just like vibing, this was peak relaxation for me.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Sounds like a great place to do some meditation.
100%. Yes, definitely. We did a lot of that. And like, if you like meditation, there's lots of opportunities there. And, Buddhism is a huge influence in Japan. And I was not able to, because our timing didn't work out, but like we did a lot of tours with this group called Tours by Locals, which was amazing. Totally recommend them. We did not have one bad tour with them. And one of the guides that we were with they like to meditate a lot. And we had an option to maybe go meditate at a Buddhist temple, but we just didn't have enough time. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that work. But if you like meditation, you can totally do that. There's definitely
that would have been cool.
Yeah. It was. You would really love it there, Dave. I think you should go.
Oh, I'm booking. I'm looking for.
He's looking right now.
I'm looking on my calendar.
Yeah, one other unique thing that I'll tell you about Hakone is they have this ropeway that's kind of like a gondola, which was amazing, like amazing views of the mountain and the volcano and everything around there. And on a good day, you can see Mount Fuji. We saw just the teeny tiny tip because it's very rare to see her in the summer. But on a good day, you can see Mount Fuji. But it's amazing, this ropeway. And one of the stops on the ropeway, you go to this place where they give you, they call them black eggs. And the reason they're black is they are just regular hard-boiled eggs on the inside, but on the outside they are black because they have been boiled in like the sulfur and the kind of mineral spring water. Oh. And they say that if you eat a black egg, you'll add 7 years to your life. So we ate a few of those.
Wow. That's all those minerals and stuff, the secret minerals. That's what the other thing was, that it's black. Now you know. See, maybe that's what it was.
Maybe. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to totally go with that.
Man, I'd have been shoving those eggs down my throat so fast.
Yes, exactly.
Dave, I think you had enough. No, not yet. I'm not done yet.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Anything else, Jen, you wanted to tell us? Any other places you visited? Or
So this is a little silly, but Kent and I still laugh about it, is something that's very prevalent in the big cities. There is a little place called Don Quixote, and it is the most bizarre place. So it's like 8 floors, and it's like a combination of like a Walmart with also a sex toy shop and makeup and Kit Kats and clothing and like everything that you could ever want is at this Don Quixote. And like I said, it's 8 floors, and the aisles are a little tiny, and it's like a maze. You get very lost in there, and bright fluorescent lights, and this really silly song that just plays in the background like constantly. And I think that song is burned in our memory. And so I'm not painting it out to be a very fun experience, but it was. Just like exploring and like trying to figure out, okay, where am I? How do I get out of here? Oh, look, some Kit Kats. Like, was essentially the experience. And every single time we were in a city, I was like, oh, I want to go to Don Quixote. So we spent a lot of money there too.
Oh, wow. Goodness.
Kent just walked in, and as I was talking about Don Quixote, and he started singing the song that plays in the background because that's how much it's ingrained in our brain.
It's etched in his brain forever. Yeah. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your trip with us. I think we need to get online, Dave, and book ours.
Oh my gosh. I mean, thank you to Mom and Dad, because wow.
Yes.
Jeez, what a great experience. What a great experience.
Yes. We're so grateful for them. That was like a trip of a lifetime for us. We definitely would not have been able to do that otherwise. So feeling very, very grateful for that. And we'll never forget that trip. And I desperately want to go back.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, and I guess that you just gave me the answer, but I was going to say, would you go back? And I think the answer would probably is going to be yes.
I would 100% go back. Yes.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Toni-Ann's ready to go. I mean, I swear. I know.
Yes. TDC 2026.
Hey, that's an idea. That's an idea.
Yeah. Yes. I'm there. Totally.
All right.
Guess that's going to do it, Toni-Ann, for this week's Disney Crush podcast. Jen, thank you. So until next week, we'll see you guys next week. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.